Welcome back to the Wearable Takeover podcast, the ultimate weekly-ish briefing for founders, investors, and builders shaping the future of health tech, wellness, sports tech, and fashion tech. I'm your host, Lakeisha Greenway, also known as Coach L, and also the founder of Wearable Tech Ventures. And folks, let me tell you, we have been on the road, okay? And there's a founder that came highly recommended to us by one of our colleagues and partners at MIT. And let me tell you, she is fire. Now, some of you might be saying, why is Lakeisha talking about fire? This girl is bad in the best way possible. And I am incredibly honored to have her here with us today. We're celebrating a lot of things in real time, including graduations, appearances at the World Cup, and all that good stuff. But let me give a proper introduction, and then you can virtually welcome my guest of the day. Now, just so you know, we still give the weekly-ish updates on the industry, and then this is one of our founder spotlights. And so I'm so grateful to have Daniela Campillo, and she's the co-founder of femmli, a femtech startup building continuous hormone monitoring for perimenopausal women. Now, we know that's been a hot topic around here lately, so you know this episode is important. So she actually holds an MBA from MIT Sloan and a BS in economics and mathematics from the University of Chicago. She's really smart. And before Femmli, Dani built her career with intention. She started in equity derivative sales at Goldman Sachs. Yes, she's that girl. And that's where she worked on a two-person team that grew revenue, check this out, 200% over 3 years to $30 million. And then she moved into a fractional CFO role at pilot.com, where she was advising 20 plus startups on fundraising and financial strategy and growth. And so Femmli took shape at MIT Sloan, where she set out to build at the intersection of areas she cares about most, which is health literacy and women's empowerment. So folks, welcome Dani, also known government name Daniela Campillo, to the Wearable Takeover podcast. How you doing, Dani?
Thank you so much, Lakeisha, for having me here. I'm doing fantastic. At this time, actually, Colombia is playing against Switzerland, so I'm hoping we're sending good vibes, good energy for Colombia to win and advance in the World Cup.
Yes, yes, yes. Sending total good vibes. Now tell me this. Have you ever played soccer? We call it soccer, but you guys call it football. Have you ever played football?
No, I'm super clumsy. I mean, I have played. That's not my sport. I love playing sports, but it's not my strength.
Okay, I love it. I love it. And then have you been able to attend physically any of the World Cup events since it's been here?
Actually, a few weeks ago, my dad was in town and we were walking around, seeing a little bit of the fan fest. We didn't attend any live game, but we did kind of soak in the festivities and the environment here in Boston, which is amazing.
I love it. I love it. And so, I used to play soccer. I played once when I was young, and then I also played once as an adult when I was recovering from surgery. That's a totally different story. But I love that you were able to take in the fanfare and you were celebrating your recent graduation, not only for you, but your dad. Tell us a little bit about
Yes. That's probably one of my favorite stories to share, but my dad has been a huge inspiration in my life. Him and my mom have been the ones who told me that limits are only in my mind and who have truly inspired me to continue pursuing education and this huge pillar of education in my life, which education ultimately translates to many different areas, including health literacy, which is one of the main things that our startup focuses on. But my dad wanted to pursue an executive education program here at MIT while I was doing my MBA. So I did some research for him to apply. He applied, he got in, and we graduated a couple of weeks apart. So that was super exciting for me to be present in his graduation and for him to be part of mine.
Outstanding. I love it. And so, folks, we had to bring context to the conversation because although we have amazing founders that are building solutions to problems that we face every day, there's real time things happening. And so it's just so exciting that we can tie all these together. But you know what? The big talk is hormones. Oprah's talking about it. Every major podcast host is talking about hormones. We're seeing some recent numbers that are historic from a raising perspective, so we're advocating for women raising capital. So, what's your take on the general conversation of hormones before we dig deep into what exactly you're doing?
Well, I'm extremely excited that hormones is becoming such a big topic. I think it's finally getting the attention that it deserves because hormones rule basically every aspect of our lives as women, but also many aspects of the lives of men as well. But we don't talk enough about it. And the main problem that we're solving at Femmli is the lack of data in the hormonal health space and how it impacts basically every aspect of our lives. So I'm very excited to see how much this topic has gained momentum. And even though I do think that there is some misinformation out there, I think finally bringing more people to discuss the topic and bringing more interest is one step forward for the entire field and for us to be able to create this entirely new category, which is continuous hormone monitoring. So it's very excited. There's also this misconception that since many people are talking about it, the space is getting crowded. But if we truly, truly think about it, there are only a handful of solutions popping up in the space. And I actually think that this is a sign of validation that this is a true problem rather than the space being crowded.
I love it. Yes, because I think we're getting confidence enough to say, "Hey, I'm going through something. There's some issues here, right?" And so when you talk about data, what exactly does that look like to the everyday person that's experiencing some challenges related to hormones?
So I'll talk a little bit more, and I think this is a great way for me to talk about the story of family, how it came to be, and ultimately, like we are starting with perimenopause, and there's a very strong reason why, which relates to the question that you asked. But family started because of a problem that me and my co-founder Nadine experienced. We're three co-founders, Nadine and Lorenzo, but me and Nadine, we both experienced very challenging hormonal health issues. Nadine, she has PCOS. I believe it changed its name recently to PMOS. And I experienced a lot of uncertainty with my body, went to four different gynecologists, and I realized, I don't understand why it's so hard to find answers to what women are experiencing, and we're
Mhm.
so often dismissed, and we often dismiss ourselves. So from that point, we began talking to many, many women, and we realized that we were not alone. That actually many women, more than we believe, experience these issues, but they just don't talk about it. And there's been a recent shift from this. But when we talk to this woman, we realize that this pain is even more deeply felt in the perimenopause space because it's a huge market. Women go through this stage of their lives, which is right before menopause. Every woman goes through it one way or another. And there is not enough data, there is not enough support. And the most used tool, which is hormonal replacement therapy, is not easily accessible to every woman who's navigating the symptoms. And also, only recently there has been a bigger transition for women to get access to it. So, to your question of how can this data be used to support women, specifically for the case of perimenopause, which is the market where we're starting at, one key takeaway that I see is finally bringing in this precision medicine to the field in which we can help women not only advocate for themselves and allow themselves advocate for themselves in a medical context and be able to show that they're going through this transition, which they cannot without the data, given how randomly hormones fluctuate, and one point in time or one hormonal panel is not going to be helpful in this type of context, but also to be able to personalize a lot more this approach to hormonal replacement therapy and better manage their symptoms.
I love it. So we're gonna take it down to the elementary scale for those that are hearing the term hormones, because I don't know if there's a counter that shows it on a media lens how many times we're seeing that terminology shared today versus in the past. But I want to walk all of our users through the experience, and the reason I want to share this is because little known fact, that's one of the core reasons how this ecosystem wearable tech venture started. So even though most people know the story of me being inspired by Baltimore, and wanting to make sure that the youth and the people here could be seen as geniuses, prior to that, I had my own challenges in women's health where I had 5 surgeries, fibroid survivor, right? And I even had some challenges there with my hormones during that process. So while I was on my bed recovering from surgery, that's when everything was happening and the whole idea of wearable tech ventures came to play. So I'm a significant advocate of what you're doing and everybody else that is trying to promote solutions in this space. So I want to make sure I share that. I even shared it recently with an interview at Stanford, and I think I was like one of the only folks of a pool of candidates that they were talking to, where I expressed an interest not only in wearables, but specifically on the women's health side. So I'm an advocate here. All right, so let's talk about this perimenopause. A lot of people are hearing about it. Um, let's talk about let's go back to the basics, because let's assume some of our listeners, they may hear the terminology but they may not be exactly sure of targeted age ranges as well as symptoms that would kick off them being a candidate to collect some data. So let's paint that picture first.
Awesome. So I think a great place to start is defining what perimenopause is. But it's really hard to define what perimenopause is because it's not something that can be easily diagnosed as opposed to menopause. A lot of people confuse perimenopause with menopause. Menopause is one point in time when a woman goes 12 months without a period. But perimenopause is that in between stage, that transition stage before a woman reaches menopause. And it can start as early as 35. On average, women start experiencing like severe symptoms probably at the age of like early 40s, mid 40s. But these symptoms, there are over 30 different symptoms. So a lot of them appear completely disconnected at first from like hormonal health. For instance, women can experience muscle pain. They can experience brain fog or forgetting certain things. They can experience probably one of the most discussed symptoms is hot flashes, but actually is not the most common one. Low libido. So as you can see, I'm just naming a few here. They are completely unrelated one to the other. So usually what happens is that women start experiencing these symptoms, they go to a doctor, but since initially they seem unrelated to hormonal health, what happens is that they get referred to potentially other doctors and other doctors, um, and it can span many years until a woman is actually diagnosed with perimenopause, or I don't know if diagnosed with, but diagnosed as they're transitioning to like this stage of their life and they can actually get like the access to hormonal replacement therapy or other tools that they can access to manage the symptoms.
Okay, very good. So you mentioned there's like 30 different points where data can be collected when we're looking at symptoms that women may experience. And then where does exactly hormone replacement therapy come into play? Because I do believe, based off of a number of the episodes that I've watched, I don't believe this has been adequately defined for women. We're hearing all these different things, but there's not a real timeline as to when this comes into play. And the reason I'm going down to a granular level is because I want to make sure we position femmli so that not only investors know where you come to play, but also patients know where you come to play and how they may be able to assist you getting data so that we can help a lot of other women around the world.
So hormonal replacement therapy is becoming more of a well-known topic recently because only last year the FDA removed the black box warning to hormonal replacement therapy. So before that, there was this misconception that hormonal replacement therapy was associated with an increased cancer risk, and that was completely dismissed already by the FDA, and now it's becoming more popular. Women and doctors are feeling more comfortable prescribing therapy to manage the symptoms. That being said, hormone replacement therapy is not for everyone. There is some early research since this is a new kind of field of not a new field, but a new topic that women are feeling comfortable with. There's more research that's coming in, and some early research points towards an earlier detection of this perimenopausal transition and an earlier usage of hormonal replacement therapy potentially leads to less risks related to Alzheimer's or some of these diseases that are primarily affecting women. So I'm very excited about where the research around hormonal replacement therapy is headed. But to your question of like, how can continuous hormone monitoring for perimenopause help with this access to hormonal replacement therapy? The first part is first understanding when you're entering this transition, and based on your hormonal levels, understanding as well what's the right dosage for you to start with, what is the right hormone for you to start with, etc. So we are hoping, and this is our vision of the world, to bring more personalized approach to hormonal replacement therapy and to women health in general, kind of bring precision medicine to women health in the same way in which we have seen precision medicine become a huge impact driver for fields like cardiology and neurology.
I love it. So thank you for providing that better picture, because I do believe a number of investors, and let's just be real, a number of investors are male, right? And so we're working to grow that investor pool where we have more representation specifically here at Wearable Tech Ventures. But I think with us explaining this, they will be better prepared to listen to solutions such as Femmli. So where does femmli exactly enter the picture? Because we talked about these 30 symptoms. We've talked about going to the doctor. We've talked about positioning hormone replacement therapy. Where does femmli come into play?
Yeah, so I realized we haven't really talked about what family actually is.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a good point to explain what we're doing, but we are leveraging biosensor technology to track hormones continuously via the interstitial fluid. So think of it as a glucose monitoring device, but for hormonal health. So where does family come into place, and how can family change the picture for women and for doctors? So actually, we have a medical advisor. It's very important for us to work very closely to the medical community because we don't want to become a company that just provides data that can lead to confusion, frustration, maybe like more more confusion. I would say maybe is the word. We actually want to be able to provide data that can be helpful for the medical community as well, and that's what we're building towards very closely with this community. So where family's role comes into play is basically first allowing the woman to see the data and understand and have the conviction and the validation that everything that they're experiencing is real, it's valid, it has an explanation. With this data, they can go in and advocate for themselves to get access to the data and the tools that they need to manage their symptoms and to have more informed conversations with their doctors as well. So that's one key aspect. And eventually, we do see the impact of this technology evolving to truly make a difference in the research. As I mentioned initially, like it all began identifying that the main driver for the issues that women are experiencing is the lack of data related to hormonal health. So there's a huge research gap that we see can be filled by providing this continuous flow of hormone data that can potentially explain a lot of the conditions that primarily affect women.
I love it. You need to do a campaign. It's like, I am not crazy. See? And then, showing the family data, because I've been hearing a number of spouses, just, talk about their wives or girlfriends saying she's hot or she's crazy, or kids are talking about their moms, saying how they're going through the change or just experiencing these symptoms where they're high and where they're low. So I think there's so many women that will thank you and with this device. So, okay, so what exactly are you measuring, right? So when you're telling a potential patient, hey, get Femmli, it's a biosensor, you can measure, you could take it to your provider and let them know you're not crazy. And that's not their slogan, but if you want to use it, go ahead, right? But what exactly are you measuring? And then how can they have this discussion with their provider?
So we are starting by measuring estradiol. And the reason for this is because if we look at a map of how hormones fluctuate for women who are navigating perimenopause, estradiol is the hormone that fluctuates the most.
Okay.
There are other hormones that are equally important, like progesterone, testosterone. These are also hormones that are used for hormonal replacement therapy. And eventually, we do want to build this multiplex system in which we can measure several hormones at the same time, but estradiol is a starting point. And to your point earlier of women feeling like they're going crazy and finally seeing the data, I loved how you said that we also need to involve like partners into the conversation, men into the conversation, because one misconception that I see a lot is that women health is a woman's issue, but it is not a woman's issue. It's a societal issue. So if women are living in poor health, this also affects their husbands, their fathers, their sons. It's a full community problem and not just a woman problem.
I love that. So when a woman is impacted, the world is impacted, right?
Mhm.
And so let me okay, so let's discuss this readout and you could tell me if it's already done or where you guys are or where your team is, I should say, in relation to patients being able to use this. So one, is it ready today for patients to use? And two, what does it look like when a patient collects the data and shares it with their provider? What does that process actually look like?
So thank you so much for this question. Currently, the technology is still in development stages. So I wish I had more that I could reveal to you
No
about the
problem.
technology itself, but I am eager to disclose more as we continue building and as we continue developing the technology. So for anyone who's listening, please follow along and we would love for you to be involved in this building journey and be part of this process as well.
I love it. See, folks, that's what we're bringing here to you. Like people always say, "Hey, Lakeisha, what wearables are you talking about?" And when I go on TV, they're like, "We've never seen that before. You're showing us a new category." So listen up, folks. We like to capture founders at the early stages, and for you investors, you could join us so that we can help innovators like Dani and her team, so that they can move along. Get the data points that they need to collect, get to their milestones or whatnot, and help them be a success story. Because let me tell you something, I feel like we're about to have a West Coast versus East Coast type hormone challenge here. And some of you might be saying, what are you talking about, Lakeisha? Well, Dani, I'm going to put you on the spot because over the past maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there's been a lot of attention coming out from a recent funding announcement. I'm not going to name that company because I already talked about them on one of my weekly episodes, but I'm here talking to you. So, how do you compare? How does Femmli compare? Knowing that you're coming out of the East Coast, right? How does
Mhm.
that compare to what we've just heard out of the West Coast with that
Yes.
major funding announcement?
Well, first of all, let me say that as weird as it sounds, I'm a fan of my competitors. And the reason for this is because we are all moving this field forward together and
Yeah,
growing the entire industry together. And having competition, I think it's a healthy sign of validation and that this problem is real. That being said, I know exactly the company that you're talking about, and we don't see them as a competition. We actually see them more of a potential partner and the type of technology that they're offering, kind of this biomarker proxies, as I like to call it. So measuring continuous hormones via heart rate or skin temperature. This is also something that Aura, Whoop do as well. And we see these companies more as potential partners rather than competitors because we have seen how they look to partner with companies that provide them with actual biomarker data. So, for instance, Whoop launched this offering to provide hormonal panels to its customers. Aura also partner with, I believe, Stello for glucose monitoring and also natural cycles. So there is this push for this biomarker proxy companies to partner with other companies who are providing actual biomarker data. And this is exactly where we are playing. So we would love to partner with any of these companies, and we are excited about how this combination of technologies can lead to catalytic combinations that can propel the entire industry forward.
I love that answer. So, Danny, are you telling me that you're doing something totally new and innovative on the hormonal side?
I like to say that we are creating a completely new category that does not yet exist. It's a new industry. Yeah.
Pick them. Let me tell you something. I have an amazing track record. I have an amazing track record. I know how to pick them. I'm so glad we're recording that. You're doing something totally brand new. Danny, investors, where are you? You need to be running to our camp. Did you hear what she said? Come on now. Danny, reiterate that.
We are working at creating a completely new industry that doesn't yet exist. So we are very excited about the potential that this technology will unlock for the entire healthcare community, not just women health, but beyond women health.
When you go on Oprah's podcast, can I be in the audience and like cheering you on? Because I haven't met her yet.
Oh,
Or
thank you
Emma
so much,
Green,
Lakeisha.
Emma, holla at us at Wearable Tech Ventures, holla at Danny. You could join our angel group, or sign on when we work on these rounds for Danny. This is amazing, Danny. This is revolutionary. What it is that you're doing. All right, so tell us this. What do you need right now?
I need everyone's support, encouragement. Follow us on Instagram, follow our journey at my family, at MYFEMMLI. And your support, your encouragement is ultimately what keeps us motivated to continue building for the women that we want to impact. So please reach out if you want to learn more. Our contact information is in our website as well. Femmli.com, very easy to remember. But I'm extremely open. I love to talk about this topic. As I mentioned in the beginning, the core of our company is health literacy and woman empowerment. So any opportunity that I have to educate people, educate myself, not just others, but every conversation is an opportunity to learn more about what I don't know and to share more about what I've been learning while I'm building my company.
I love it. And so we just did a tour on the East Coast, and we're looking for some collaborators to work with us as we go to the West Coast when we're preparing for those tech weeks. So I'm putting out a call. Anybody, if you're listening to this episode and if you want to work with us, and then we got some other founders that we want to bring together. If you want to work with us to help bring this discussion live, to empower women and talk a little bit more about what Femmli is doing. Hit us up. Let us know, because we are open and we are ready. We want to supercharge this thing. I think I'm just so excited about where you're going to go. All right. So, Danny, over the next year, what can we expect from Femmli over the next year?
I love this question, and I think this question, I like to say I'm a dreamer. So
Okay.
of course I have this quote that I found from a Brazilian businessman that says it takes the same amount of effort to dream big than to dream small. So why
Yes.
not dream big? So over the next year, we are expecting to have a big community of women ready to receive the launch of our technology and our device, who will be welcoming the potential of this technology with open arms and big smiles, because this truly has the potential to change many lives.
I love it. So, pop-ups, events, and things of that nature, work with us so that we can help you get that. We want folks to be exposed, to have the conversation, and to break it down. And I appreciate you allowing me to ask some of those granular questions, because again, what I have observed via conversations in this space from those may not be researchers, etc., or clinicians, is that it's often skipped over what that process is. And I feel like patients are still left to try to navigate what this is, and they stay stuck. Excuse me, they stay stuck on the symptoms phase. And we've got so many social media influencers that make us laugh, make us cry. They're doing book tours and all those things. And so I hope that you would collaborate with them to enhance that educational piece, because I do
I
see a
would love
gap
to.
there.
I would absolutely love to collaborate with any influencers. If any influencers in the space is listening to this podcast, I would love to connect. I would love to find ways in which we can collaborate and expand the education available in this space. So please reach out. And thank you, Lakeisha, for giving me this opportunity to share more about our journey. Also, this just sharing, like, this has been one of the most uncomfortable things that I have to push through, just putting myself out there, my face, talking. It's definitely not something that comes naturally to me, just feeling this building in public type of content that it's becoming very important because it's very vulnerable, and the entrepreneurship journey has a lot of ups and downs, high
Yes.
highs, low lows. So to your point, we are not gatekeeping. We want to build in public because even though it's risky and we're putting ourselves out there and being vulnerable, we do believe that this is the best way to build close to the woman that we want to work with, that we want to support, and also to create these feedback loops that are so needed to build a product that ultimately is going to change lives.
I love this, and thank you for adding that transparency related to the founder journey, because you're brilliant, brilliant intellectually, brilliant as a human being. And even in your brilliance, even myself, I've said it on many other stages. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, as far as being a founder. And you're not approaching this from from a siloed perspective. You're engaged in a community, and you're learning, but there's still a lot of discomfort that comes in that. But the beautiful thing is that you are moving fast enough to learn and overcome that discomfort to get to a place of introducing revolutionary innovation. And I'm a huge fan. I mentioned earlier in your bio that you had a life before this, and I want to go back there because I think this is important. A lot of times as investors, we always say we're betting on the founder, and I am one of those people. I bet I invest in the founder. And folks, she's brilliant. When we were at Boston Tech Week, I don't know if we have it on video, but Dani just she did a I don't want to say a full soliloquy, but this girl went on one of the most positive rants ever that really got an ovation from the room. And so I'm so thankful that you were able to join us for the inaugural Boston Tech Week. And next year, Boston's going to make sure our room is right, so we don't have to shift rooms. But we want to come back, and maybe we could do something big. So we should start thinking about that too right now, Dani. But
Yeah, and 1 year from now, it's going to be a whole new story for us. So I'm excited.
absolutely, we're going to have a lot to celebrate, a lot to
Yeah.
celebrate. But I also want to tune in on this because you know what it's like to be in that financial position. You have that financial knowledge, and you worked at Goldman Sachs. And so you've also advised other startups, which I think is incredibly valuable. And I think it's going to be incredibly valuable to your company. So can you share with us a recap of what you did at Goldman Sachs and how that experience shaped some of the things that you learned that you're applying to your journey now?
100%. And maybe before going into my time at Goldman, how it shaped who I am today, I'll talk a little bit about why I started my career in finance, because I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's just something that you feel like a bug. For me, being an entrepreneur is creating opportunities for those around me and truly taking the wheel of my life. So I always knew this is something that I wanted to do, especially starting a company in a space that mattered to me. And at the university, I joined this organization called Women in Business, and I asked my dad. He's one of the the board of advisors of like the board of my life. I like to call it
Love
the
it.
my life board of advisors, and my dad is one of them. And he
Love
told
it.
me that if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I should get to know finances very, very well, because finances is very often what makes it or breaks it for a business. So that is why I started my career in finance. And I started my career in the fixed income macroeconomics side of sales and trading, because I wanted to be very connected to the global trends, be developing my own opinions about what's happening around the world. And I think that's one of the main things I got from my experience at Goldman, being able to truly connect with other cultures. I was sitting in a desk, I told you, a desk of two people, but it was a very exciting opportunity for me because I was covering Latin American clients who were trading global products. So I got to talk to the teams in Asia, I got to talk to the teams in Europe, Latin America. I spoke three languages in my
Nice.
job, mostly Portuguese actually, because 80% of my clients were Brazilian. So it was an extremely global experience, and I think it allowed me to be able to bond with many different people and understand the motivations from many different people and break down these complex products like equity derivatives into easier to pitch ideas. Um, I also would say that that's probably from like a technical side of things, just learning the skill set of sales and pitching and developing my own opinions and ideas, but from a more personal and probably like soft skill side of things. I think from Goldman, I learned to be more confident. I had a great manager, and he gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of ownership. And he truly changed the way that I saw myself and my potential, and being able to trust myself more and my ideas and take more risk. Even if sometimes I doubted my own ideas, he would always just encourage me to share my ideas and to speak up and advocate for myself. Goldman is a huge organization, and I had to advocate for myself many, many times because I was working in a smaller team, and learning how to navigate the politics of like such a big organization, I think was a very transformative and important skill that still helps me today. For instance, when I'm mapping key stakeholders for femmli and how to approach those partnerships, how to approach certain negotiations, I think a lot of that I learned it from my time in Goldman. And then when I became a fractional CFO and I advised over 20 different startups, I for sure applied some of the skills as well to my collaborations with these founders.
I love it. And so you mentioned you spoke three languages at your job. What languages were those?
So my first language, I'm Colombian. I'm originally from Colombia. My first language is Spanish. And then I spoke English, of course, with my colleagues in the New York office and all over the world. And then I spoke Portuguese because 80% of my clients were Brazilian, and my manager, my boss, he was Brazilian as well. And I actually have a lot of care and good memories from the Brazil team. That was probably like some of the people who brought me the most joy when I was working at Goldman.
I love it. I love it. All right, folks. So we want to give you that better picture of the founder, because when I'm looking at founders, I'm not just looking at a founder that has a cool idea or that has something that they can introduce to the market. I'm looking at founders that can grow companies that ultimately could IPO. Okay. And so I'm putting my money on Dani. Are you? Join me. All right. Anything else you want to share, Dani, before we close today?
Um, Anything else I want to share? Many things.
We're
uh,
going to have you back. We're going to have you back, but we got to close out this one for today.
no, maybe I'll just like give a little shout out to my team, because I think that culture definitely is a moat, and I wouldn't have come this far without the support of Nadine, Lorenzo, our mentors, advisors, Liliana, also Michelle, and many, many other mentors who have contributed to my growth and my journey. So thank you for everyone who has made a difference and who has helped carry family to where it is today. And including you, Lakeisha, thank you so
Oh,
much.
my pleasure. My pleasure. And that's so honorable, you shouting out your team and your advisors. You know, you just gave me an idea. Maybe I need to do an episode with a couple of you founders and we discuss what makes a good mentor, what makes a good advisor. But that's for a whole other topic. So folks, you heard it here. You can follow what's your social channels for Finley?
At my family, so at MYFEMMLI, or on our website, join the waitlist. It's femmli.com. Please reach out if you have any questions. You can find our contact information there as well.
And then we'll have some in the show notes as well. So, folks, you heard
Yeah.
it here first. Okay. This is something brand new. Join the journey. I'm putting my money on Dani. This is it for our founder showcase this time. But if you would like to be featured in the future, you know how to contact us. Check the show notes. This is amazing. I'm so excited about where we're going at Wearable Tech Ventures. And then also make sure you connect with us if you want to join our angel investor training and have the opportunity to support Dani at the early stages. That's it for this episode. See you next time for the weekly industry recap.